Now it's probably very different. Now Hanna is in the list of the global thinkers of the Foreign Policy magazine. You know, here as an advocate for carrying Ukraine's revolution beyond the Maidan. Both they are MPs, and of course, our first question would be, you know, what do you think you've succeeded in what, and what you've made wrong within this year? What you've achieved? Besides you become a politician.
What's wrong? I don't know wrong. I think the consequence of our mistakes we will see in the future. I hope that it's not a mistake that we went to the parliament. And why? Because it's obvious now that civil society, they now have a hole because a lot of people went to the parliament and journalists too went to the parliament. Even Hromadske, they lost some of their members. And Ukrainska Pravda, you know, Leshenko and Sergei Leshenko and Svetlana Zalishchuk from reanimation package of reform. So it will be quite different for them, and it will be very hard, I think, for civil society to fill this gap.
But for the two of you, I mean, when you went to Maidan for the first time about a year ago, and we've seen the videos, did you ever imagine that you'd be entering parliament as MPs? Did you think you would go into politics then?
No, I couldn't imagine that life will change so fast. And actually, when we were standing at Maidan, we couldn't imagine that a lot of events will happen in Ukraine. Annexation of Crimea, the war in the east, and it gave us the sense that we are responsible for the future of Ukraine. And I'm sure that Mustafa, Leshenko, and other activists, journalists that went to politics, now they are not experienced enough in politics. So we are learning by doing, and it's very important to succeed there, because the expectations of people for the change are so high. Yeah. So it depends on us, on our activity and principled position and professionalism to deliver these reforms in Ukraine. And also, if Ukraine succeeds, it means the whole region, post-Soviet region, will be changed.
I would also draw attention for those maybe who still doesn't know. This is a Mustafa famous Facebook post, which is considered to be the start of the revolution. There he asked when the EU association agreement was not signed, was abandoned by the former president. Mustafa told, like, are you going to come to the square? If there would be more than 1,000 people, we will be organized. And do you feel you know, Hanna mentioned the responsibility for Crimea and for the war. That's a question a lot of foreign journalists ask now here, the politician. You know, so we understand that you know, what do you think, as a civil society activist coming to the parliament, what are your ways still to influence the politics? Because there are not that many of you still.
No, it's not enough. I think I'm agree with you that we don't have a lot of people to change everything. But what is true is that those people who are now in the parliament from civil society, they're very strong in their positions and their principles, and they're very young. And as I know, and as I hope, they're supported by civil society when people outside the parliament. I think our power will be in that, that we will try to lobby those initiatives we had before outside the parliament. Now we are trying to fulfill them inside the parliament. The first and the second is that if we join, and I hope we join, not maybe today, not in 1 month or in 2 months, but definitely, eventually we will join. I mean, all those young people. And I think it will be a new page of Ukrainian policymakers, because those who are old, they will went. You know that they don't have enough time. They have maybe 1 year, 2 years. In 3 years, I hope, and I'm sure that those people who are now young in parliament, they will run this country. So we don't have chances to lose this chance. So I think that we still have ability to change traditions and to show that politicians can be different than people had before.
But since we've spoken a little bit about civil society, and as was mentioned, we have a bit of a different audience. Can you just explain what your connection to Hromadske is?
My connection?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not, co-founder of Hromadske, and that's it. So I'm not working here, and I'm not in any body of Hromadske. I'm not a news host. I'm not in a program council, and not an editorial council.
We have voted unanimously
Yes.
to exclude him from all the positions.
It was my initiative.
On personality alone.
It was my initiative because it's why I did it, not because just because, not, and because not. I think that I can't be journalist, but the thing is that I don't want to compromise my colleagues. I mean,
Well, the reason I mention is because we only started broadcasting in English in October, and we have to remind people this was an organization founded by journalists who are involved, and of course the anniversary of Maidan is also an anniversary of Hromadske.
Do you think that the journalists can't influence the politics, therefore you went to the politics? This is, why you have to leave. There are people say there is not enough people doing investigations, that you would be an excuse for the party to tell, we have all these Maidan people on our list. And, like you see, but it doesn't mean, you mentioned now that there are a lot of activists, but still, what we see now from the coalition agreement, from all the debates, those with money and power, they are really taking decisions.
well,
What are your tools?
First point is that, yeah, you're right that there are not much more tools to influence policymakers inside the parliament than outside as a journalist. But this is our choice and it's our responsibility. We had two options: to criticize this parliament and this government again, such we did just 10 years before that, or to do something ourselves. It will be hard. But the second point is that you told that those oligarchs, their influence system, yes, they still, but you can't change it immediately in one day. Someone should start that. And I hope that we are pioneers of this movement.
But what was the moment for you, or maybe for both of you, when you decided specifically to go into politics, to run for parliament?
For me, the moment was when EU MP came to Ukraine and was criticizing us as a civil society representatives why we are not going to politics. Because we are afraid to take a shame of politics. And they insist that we will be more effective being MPs and working inside of the parliament that continue to criticize and developing the agendas. Plus, also when I saw that such people like Kivalov and others also...
In the former representative of Yanukovych party, who was the head of the election commission in 2004 and responsible for rigging the elections.
Yeah, so when I realized that all odious, all negative persons also run into the parliament, so this is our responsibility for the country, to go to the politics and change the approaches, providing new approaches and a new quality of politics. This is why we invited a lot of representatives from reanimation package of reforms, independent experts, to Samopomich party list, opened this list for critics, for journalists, and in this way we were trying to deliver the new approaches before entering to the parliament. And for us it's very important now to be united, young generations, because Maidan helped a new generation of change makers and state builders to be shown to the society, and it's our responsibility for the changes, for leadership there, and professionalism.
When I listen to your speeches or any public talk, I hear that you promise to be different, not to be corrupt, to be better than those who've been in power. But of course, it's not just about being better than the others. We rather think, what do you want to achieve if we will talk, if we will speak in a year? What are your 3 points, like the reforms, exactly what you do, besides being better than the others?
Okay, I think you're right that we can sell to our audience just our honesty. So we'll try to do something. What is my personal goal? First of all, I think we will try to make these policymakers and this institution of parliament much more transparent and accountable. Because now you know that a lot of people who are now in our parliament even don't know are they shareholders in which companies, and we don't know the conflict of interests of their MPs, and etc. First. The second is that I think we will try to change the law, election law and election code. It's first point we should do, because
what do you want to change, or what needs to be done?
We want to change it. We want to do it with open list and a proportional system. This is a very important thing, that we saw that even after Maidan, people are corrupted, and the election we had before, even this election, they were not clear, and it was not fair and free. So
you want to get rid of the majority districts?
Yes.
Yes, so all proportional.
Yes.
Because maybe not everyone knows, Ukrainians have two votes. They vote once in their local constituency, and then they have a vote for party lists.
So 3 parts, but still, this is very big mistake thinking that MPs, they're writing laws and it's only one role of, no, we are controlling. And this is other big role of parliament, to control government, to show all corruption systems and etc. But what is very important that in 1 year, I want to come here to this studio and to talk to you, and I don't want to betray those people who believe that the new generation can provide new approaches and new values to the parliament. Because now this is very, very responsible point. We can be as MPs. No one will ask some people from old generation that they are corrupted or they did something wrong, but they will ask us. So I want you don't have these questions.
And 3 priorities is judiciary system reforms, to build the institutional power of judges system, independent from politics.
How do you do that? What reform do you need specifically?
We already drafted within the reanimation package of reforms, a package of reforms how to make them, but there were no political will. So for us it's very important. Second, it's economy issues. It's very important through deregulation, through decreasing taxations, to provide new opportunities for middle and medium-sized business for their growth, because this is extra jobs in Ukraine, and besides, it's also our answer to oligarch system. Through supporting middle and medium-sized business, we could build a middle class in Ukraine. And it's also very important, this economy, and also important anti-corruption implementation of all legislation that was passed, plus extra amendments to legislation that we definitely need. And another priority is decentralizations. We understand that for 2015, it's hard to decentralize budget through amendments to budget codes, but for 2016, it's very important. And as Mustafa mentioned, election system legislation change, it's very important because next year, 2015, we have local elections, and it's very important to conduct these elections with the new rules to guarantee that dignity people, professional, will enter to local councils, and besides upfresh of at national level in the parliament, we need new political elites at regional level.
But talking about economics now, something maybe not everyone knows is that smaller businesses were taxed very heavily in Ukraine under Yanukovych. And that's obviously something you want to reform, but you also mentioned that economic growth is a priority. But with the debts that Ukraine has and the need to create revenue, how do you balance, a desire to get rid of taxes to create growth with a need for that revenue right now, just to have more money coming into the government?
For us, it's very important through deregulation, decreasing number of inspections that like a nightmare for business now. So, and there are lots of salaries in the shadow. So we have to help through transparency to business to grow, not being attacked by tax police, by different inspections. So for us, it's very important to support business in Ukraine, also give them money for modernization.
So it's trying to build trust, right?
Yes,
that they feel they're investing in a system that helps them and appreciates
justice system, judiciary system reform will help to return justice and trust to Ukraine as a country where you could invest in your money.
Yeah, and what is very important, what said Hanna, is that all those issues, they are now in our coalition agreement. Already. It's first time in the history of Ukraine when this coalition agreement, it is fulfilled with these reforms. And now I think our maybe most important role of our young people will be to guarantee that this coalition agreement should be fulfilled.
Is it legally binding, this coalition agreement? Does it have...
Actually, no, but what is really
it's
modern
public.
now? It's
But
like it's like a declaration written in the coalition agreement. It's like a paper.
But it's public.
It's public, yes. It's
And previously
publicly taken commitments by 5 political parties. But it's very important for us from the first day of Parliament, when it starts working, to guarantee that all legislations that need to fulfill the coalition agreement are in place, and every day we are voting for the changes we need through submitting legislation, passing in the parliament.
At the same time, when we speak about the coalition agreement, there are 5 parties. You know, there is a party of the President Party, the Poroshenko bloc, the Prime Minister Party, Yatsenyuk bloc, Samopomich, the new party you're representing, the Yulia Tymoshenko party, and also Lyashko party, the Radical Party. And, you know, there are a lot of dubious people still. I mean, there was a question why, for instance, Lyashko would be there, and, you know, why you were criticizing for a lot of things. Lyashko party, for instance, was the one which, in this coalition agreement, stopped the idea of the financing, the transparent finance of the party. So, you know, how you do that? At the same time, everything on words, everything is perfect. But when you see who are the people and the people who are involved in politics, it looks like, you know, you're talking well on interviews,
No,
but...
I have an answer for that. First of all those people who you mentioned, they're elected by Ukrainian people. We can have some problem with those people, I mean, some questions to them, but they are elected first. The second is that I'm sure and I'm convinced that all parliament, but without opposition bloc, because we can't accept them, yes? They have to take this responsibility for country. We don't want to have some opposition which will be destructive to this reanimation package of reforms we have in this agreement. So Lyashko inside coalition, it's better than Lyashko outside coalition. This is definitely, because outside coalition, he will destruct us, he will just ruin our plans. But now he's responsible for this coalition agreement with us, which is standing near us, not somewhere, you know? So tomorrow, people will ask him the same question that we.
Well, he has to be involved, and people have to be constructive.
So all of them should
and
be
it's
involved.
admirable. I mean, it's a broad coalition. It's really people trying to work together. The question I have for either of you who wants to answer it: what is the significance of political parties in this coalition? 3 of the 5 parties that are in the coalition are new. They didn't exist a year ago. Obviously, you know, people like yourselves, you know each other. You're on good terms, possibly on closer terms than some other people in your own parties who you don't know quite as well. And then in this coalition, obviously, you have these parties working together. Do political parties play a role in this upcoming parliament? And if so, what role do they play?
It is much easier for her to answer.
Okay.
For me.
Ukraine is in a transition period when political culture and political tradition is still forming. And for us, it's very important to build this trust among different political players and also unite efforts to achieve the common goal. A common goal, this is the strong Ukraine with all reforms that we need to give answer to the challenges to the war in the East, to economic crisis, and to increase the image of Ukraine abroad to attract investors.
But there's still some different positions. I mean, for example, if I understand correctly, your party doesn't want to take any ministerial positions, if I understand correctly. They want to be represented in the committees because they feel they can be more active and keep people honest there, right? Which is interesting because that's something that distinguishes Samopomich from other parties. Why was that position taken, or what was the importance of that?
So for us, it's very important that this government will be forming not by quote principle, because the previous one, like Maidan quotes that we seen in March, wasn't effective for the country's interest. So now the professional ministers has to take the responsibility for delivering reforms according to the coalition agreement text, and also country needs professional people. And for us, it's very important to invite representatives from expert communities, think tanks groups, experience enough who could take these positions and be effective. For our MPs, because at Samopomich party list, no former MPs, no former bureaucrats. So it's a new people with a lot of experience in their professional area. It's like
that
economy, they can use in committees. And our key focus was, and that we promised to our voters, that we will deliver new approaches in the parliament and fight for being the parliament professional institution. So for us, it's very important. So we are ready to support experts professional enough from civil society, from experts community, for consideration of
advice.
prime ministers, to advise prime minister, the best people in the country, to take this position in next government.
Mustafa, there were people also asking, there is this video when the, very recent, we also have it on our YouTube channel, when the President Poroshenko went to lay the flowers to those who died on the Maidan. The people were yelling shame because it was no investigation, and they demanded that there would be some, they would be called the heroes of Ukraine. And the question is from the Michael Anderson, the journalist, who tell, like, does you agree that Poroshenko and Yatsenyuk belong to yesterday's Ukraine?
Okay, I'll answer that way. Everything we have now in the country, it is not only results of Maidan. It is also a result of war. So I don't have any doubts that without war, we will have other government, another president. Because it was obvious for you and for me that in June, in May, we elected not maybe president, but chief of commander, yes? So this is obvious that those people who are now in government, in parliament, most of them, they were not popular in Maidan, during Maidan. Just remember what we call Yatsenyuk just 6 months ago. Who was Poroshenko 1 year ago? Who were Turchinov 1 year ago? So it is obvious that they are not those people who represent new generation. But now we have war. When we should save country, we don't have other people. We have these people, and they're experienced enough to take this responsibility. And we are guaranteed that they will not do it in old tradition way, how they did it before. So I'm convinced that we have the best president we had during all our history, maybe the best speakers we had before, the best prime minister. I'm taking that because just I'm a member of parliament, but I'm convinced that it's true. It's true that our president will not try to be richer. He's going to try to save country, and he's trying to do that. Maybe not best way, but he's trying. And the same way about prime minister and etc. So,
Anna, you are not just smiling, but you raise the issue of investigation of the crimes of the Maidan, and they are not there. You know, I mean, with these people still in power, being in power since March.
I can say that old system still resisting, and there are lots of negative signs. For example, General Prosecutor Office hasn't deliver the key investigations that society was expected to see. Also, as for the plan for recovery, all money that were stolen by former corrupted government and Yanukovych team wasn't, there even wasn't an attempt to return this money back to Ukraine. So there are lots of mistakes that were done by current top officials in Ukraine. For example, when they appointed their top staff, I mean General Prosecutor Office, Minister of Defense before. So now it's time to understand that they have to take responsibility, and business as usual will not work in Ukraine. So they have to change the rules, and I do hope that such people like Mustafa, Leshchenko, and others in their political party will help them to understand. And all this situation like shame that people were saying, so it's a bad signal for the president, but good signal for the country, so that now they understood that the patient of the society is over.
Thank you so much for being with us.